Hola, que show. Buenos dias, bonjour, calimera. I think that's all I've got. Tuesday, I'm having a really nice day. The sun's shining, I've been for a little swim, some pinchos, cold creamy beer, and then my phone rings. It's Sergio. Sergio says, "Hey Richard, we got a little bit of a problem. Tim Miles can't come. Would you mind standing in?" It's like, yeah, okay. What do you mean? Would you do a talk on Thursday morning? I said, "How many people?" He said, 230. I said, "Shit, no." But here I am, alas, with you guys. Are you going to go easy on me? Yes. Thank you very much. Oh. Thank you very much. No, so I thought I would call my talk this morning, Things I Wish Someone Had Told Me Sooner. Let's begin with the death of the Pope. Sorry, it's a bit too soon. Not exactly the death of the Pope. No, a couple of weeks ago, the cardinals gathered in the conclave of the Sistine Chapel. And up on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel is one of the great works of Western art. It's a painting by Michelangelo of scenes from the book of Genesis. And this is hugely admired. Hundreds of millions of people have flocked to see this throughout the ages. Now, that's the ceiling. On the wall, at the other end of the chapel, is a fresco, also painted by Michelangelo. And I wonder, when those cardinals were standing there, if any of them were looking up at this, and any of them noticed a particular detail. This detail. We have Saint Bartholomew holding the flayed skin of a corpse. And what a lot of people don't know is that this was a self-portrait by Michelangelo. When he was making the paintings in the Sistine Chapel, he was wrung out. He was hollowed out. He was at the end of his tether. The Vatican were giving him a load of trouble because there were lots of naked men, and, that's not cool. Certainly wasn't then. But also, he was riddled with self-doubt. He wrote in a poem to his friend, "My painting is dead. I am not in the right place. I am not a painter." And yet here he was, making one of the great works of Western art. Here's an old dude with a beard, Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin changed our understanding of the natural world forever with his book, The Origin of the Species. 2 years after he wrote The Origin of the Species, he said, "I'm very poorly today, and very stupid, and hate everybody and everything. One lives only to make blunders." Another old guy with white hair. I'm an old guy. I'm a little bit sympathetic with these old guys riddled with self-doubt. Einstein. Einstein didn't just change our understanding of the world, he changed our understanding of the universe. Towards the end of his life, after E equals MC squared, he said, "The exaggerated esteem in which my life work is held makes me very ill at ease. I feel compelled to think of myself as an involuntary swindler." Here's the thing. If you experience self-doubt, you are in the very best company. I was reading an interview with an Irish novelist, Anne Enright, and she said a really, really lovely thing. She said, "Only bad writers think that their work is really good." If you have talent, then you can inevitably see the shortcomings in your own work. And that means you have the capacity to improve, to get better. If you think everything you make is perfect, it probably isn't. And I think in the creative process, some self-doubt is good because it shows that you're pushing yourself. You're going to a place where you feel a little bit uncomfortable, where great work is possible. David Bowie said many beautiful things. This is one of them.
And the other thing I would say is that if you feel safe in the area that you're working in, you're not working in the right area. Always go a little further into the water than you feel you're capable of being in. Go a little bit out of your depth. And when you don't feel that your feet are quite touching the bottom, you're just about in the right place to do something exciting.
I like that. So you're not out there in the middle of the ocean sort of floundering, but you're not taking it easy on the beach with a cold beer like I was before I got told I had to do this talk. You're somewhere where your feet are just not quite touching the bottom. But self-doubt in the creative process is a bit like Goldilocks porridge, you know. If you don't have any, then, you know, you're not in a great place. You are Donald Trump, and nobody wants to be Donald Trump. But if you've got too much, then it's crippling, you know, and you can't make any work. I do a lot of creative coaching with individuals, and a couple of strategies I want to share with you this morning. One is the pep talk technique. So, you know, in the middle of the night, when your head's full of your creative demons telling you you're a bit shit and your work's a bit rubbish and you've been promoted by accident and you can never do this, when you wake up in the morning, you just write a list of all the things that are bugging you. And then you imagine that a good friend of yours has come to you with those problems. We're so much kinder to other people often than we are to ourselves. What would you say to your friend? And it's a really great way of taking the chaos in your head, making it objective, and finding strategies to overcome them. Another thing that I started doing a few years ago, you know when you get some negative feedback, it like lodges in your head like a poisonous shard. And then somebody says something nice, and you're like, oh yeah, thanks very much, and boom, it's gone. So next time somebody says something nice, you get a text or an email or a good piece of feedback, you put it in a folder, and you call that folder the nice messages folder. And then when you're feeling a bit shit, you have a look at this folder, and you go, fuck, okay. Even though I feel terrible today, there was a point at which somebody thought what I do was good enough to send me this message. Maybe things are going to be all right. Can we ever be confident creatively anyway? You know, isn't creativity about doing things for the first time? So how do we know it's going to work? Yayoi Kusama, one of my creative heroes, said from the point of view of one who creates, everything is a gamble, a leap into the unknown. And isn't that a beautiful thing? Okay, I've been talking for 7 minutes. I haven't timed this out. I've just thrown it together. Let's see. That's one thing. Let's move on to the next one, quickly. AI is rubbish at fixing drinks. I have 2 boys. One of them is 17. A couple of months ago, he came into the kitchen. He said, Dad, I've been watching this YouTuber, Alex O'Connor, do an experiment with ChatGPT. Let's try it. Now, I've got the latest version of ChatGPT, so I did. I said to ChatGPT, can you create an image of a full glass of wine? Here is the image of a full glass of wine. Let me know if you need any modifications. Now, as we can see, that glass of wine isn't totally full. So I said, make it full to the brim. Here is the image of a glass of wine filled to the brim. Let me know if you'd like any further adjustments. Something's not right here. But it's not filled to the brim, dude, ChatGPT, whoever you are. It's half full. Here is the image with a glass of wine truly filled to the brim. Let me know if you'd like any further refinements. At this point, it's like, I think I could do with a glass of wine filled to the brim. So I said, it's still not quite full. Here is the updated image with the wine truly filled to the absolute brim, almost overflowing. Let me know if you need any further adjustments. So now I'm being gaslit by ChatGPT. It's just not full. Here is the glass of wine filled to the absolute brim with the surface tension holding the liquid just before it spills. Let me know if you need any further refinements. It's all gone a bit weird, you know. But I had a feeling I knew what was going on. So I said, make an image of a watch at 12:03. Here is the image of a watch displaying the time, 12:03. Let me know if you need any modifications. The time is 10:08. Sorry, the time is 10:08, not 12:03. Here is the corrected image of a watch displaying the time, 12:03. Let me know if you need any further adjustments. You can't do this, can you? You're right to call that out. AI struggles with generating precise times and clocks and watches. It often defaults to commonly seen positions like 10:08. If you need an image with an exact time, manually editing an existing watch image or using graphic design software would be the best approach. Let me know if you'd like guidance with that. So after all that, ChatGPT was basically saying, do it yourself. What's going on? Well, AI struggles to extrapolate beyond its own data set. It looks at everything that's been done, it extrapolates patterns, and then it creates new stuff based on those patterns. Most photographs of glasses of wine are not full to the brim. So ChatGPT couldn't, it can now because they saw this experiment, but couldn't fill glasses of wine to the brim. Similarly, most watches are sold at 10 to 2 or 10 past 10 because watchmakers think that looks good. Human beings, you guys, are amazing at extrapolating beyond your own data set. That's what creativity is. This is the advantage we hold over AI. AI is always looking for the next most likely thing. Creativity is about doing something surprising. A test I often set myself when I have to come up with ideas is, could AI have come up with this? If it could, then I need to keep pushing. I don't think, though, that AI is the enemy. I think this is a false binary if we have AI and we have human beings. The interesting thing is what human beings and AI can do together if we use it as a tool. I'm going to try and get my own back on Evan now. Here's some data. This data is the performance of Go players. So you know the strategy game Go. It's like a board game that's played in the East. And for years, up to 2015, the performance of the best players and the worst players was just kind of hovering around a median. And then in 2015, they invented an AI that could beat the best players for the first time. And the performance of all Go players went stratospheric because the old strategies no longer worked. AI had forced the human players to think differently. And I think this is a beautiful and optimistic thing. ChatGPT is like an always cheerful, not very imaginative friend who has a fantastic memory, but just can't help telling the occasional lie. And he's late for parties, and he's really stingy at pouring drinks. Number 3, leave a little room for your audience. I had some really beautiful people come to my workshop yesterday. If you did, this is the same thing. Again, that's all right, isn't it? Thanks, guys. So I'm old. I'm one of the old people Evan was talking about. I still buy a newspaper on the weekend. I came across this ad in my newspaper. Say hello to Barbados. Barbados. Visit barbados.org. Now, I'd quite like to go to Barbados, but this ad doesn't make me want to go to Barbados. There's some women in a Jeep sort of pointing at something and a slightly shitty landscape that doesn't even look like Barbados behind it. There's nothing for me in this ad. A little while ago, I was on the London Overground and I saw another ad. 0 stars, would not recommend, Satan, Bible app. Now this ad was different. I'm used to seeing 5 stars or 4 stars on an ad on the tube. This had 0 stars. Would not recommend Satan. Now I'm intrigued. Then I see the Bible app and I put everything together. It's left a little bit of space for me, the viewer, to join the dots. I call this the gap. And the most effective creative communications leave a space for the audience. And most brands don't do this. Most brands are too unconfident. They think we need to tell everybody everything. Ad for McDonald's. I'm not an advocate of McDonald's, but they do make nice advertising. 2 kids' faces, beautifully shot, looking up with curiosity, expectation, excitement, and in the background, the yellow arches reflected. Nothing more required, you know? It does everything. We form the association in our minds. Psychologists call it the generation effect. Information that we arrive at by ourselves, rather than being told it, is much more impactful, it's more memorable, it stays with us, it's much more powerful. When Steven Spielberg was shooting Jaws, he had a problem. The problem was the shark looked a bit shit. And he was like, man, you know, if I use this shark, people are going to be laughing at this movie, and I want people to be scared. I've got an issue. And he tried to get a better shark, but it wasn't happening. And then he had a brainwave. He thought, what if we don't see the shark? What if I create the impression of the shark through music? And the reason people of my generation are still terrified of swimming in the sea is because of that strategy. We created an image in our heads of the shark which was much more fearful and frightening than the shark itself. Here's another ad. Tide stain removal pen. Boom. There's a gap there. It's beautiful, it works, it's clever. It gives you a little aha moment. And neuroscientists have found that when we have that aha moment, we have what's called a subcortical dopaminergic reaction in our reward networks. In other words, your skin tingles a little bit and you feel good. And if you can make people feel good when they see a message from your brand, then they feel good about your brand. And if you can make people feel good when they see your advertising, then you've done something that's worthwhile. You're not just selling something, you're making people's lives a tiny bit better. And that is a good thing, particularly in our world. Would you like me to tell you the reason most advertising fails? Thanks. I'm going to tell you. We're going to try a little thing, though. Will you help me out with a little thing? Yes. I don't know what I'd do if somebody said no. Okay, here's the deal, right? So I'm going to ask you 2 questions, and it's whatever comes into your head, okay? Whatever comes into your head. All right. Are we ready? Think of a number between 1 and 10. Think of a vegetable. Okay, I'm going to make a prediction that a third of people thought 7 and a majority thought carrot. I don't know if I'm right. Let's find out. I was right yesterday. Am I going to be right today? Let's see. If you thought 7, will you stand up, please? Just stand up if you thought 7. Yeah, it's almost a third, isn't it? And if you thought carrot, stand up. Fuck, it worked better with 28 people yesterday. Who was there yesterday? You were there, weren't you, Martin? Did it work? Absolutely. It was a huge success. Absolutely. It was like totally on the money. I've done this quite a lot. It doesn't always work. Maybe you guys are just so out there that... But more often than not, if you take a group of people, you'll get a third of people who say 7 and a majority say carrot. And why is that? It's because we are all subject to the same kind of cultural forces. We're here in 2025. Most of us have grown up in Western Europe. We are at the same point in time, and we tend to think in very similar ways. You've got to push past that to make really good stuff. Let me show you some movie posters. Oh no, a quick stat, more stats. In the UK, £20 billion a year is spent on advertising. 4% of it is remembered positively, 7% is remembered negatively, 89% is not noticed or remembered, which means £18 billion. Money that could be used for so much better things just goes poof, up in smoke. And the reason is that most advertising looks like most other advertising. There's a French blogger called Christophe Courtois. He collates movie posters. These are action movies. Black and white, flash of flame. These are thrillers. We got close-ups of lips with like the occasional drop of red blood. Romances, big floating heads above the sea, and rom-coms, the 2 protagonists back to back against a pale background. Most stuff looks like most other stuff, so we don't notice it. There's a really insightful comment by a neuroscientist called Karen Nelson-Field. She says, if you ever want to truly and completely grab an individual's attention, you must break their prediction. When a prediction fails, the brain becomes primed to take in and hold on to new information. Your brain is an energy-saving device. Its job is to get you through life, allow you to procreate, and use the minimum energy possible. So you're in autopilot most of the time, hopefully not now, but maybe, I don't know, maybe that was a 7 and 10 thing. You're in autopilot. So long as the world conforms to your expectations, you stay in autopilot. But now and again, something jolts you out of that, and you're alert. And that is the response you must provoke in your audiences. But you can't be too out there. Van Gogh sold 1 painting in his lifetime. His style was just too much, you know. He was painting at a time when people expected realism, and you could see his brush strokes. There's a sweet spot, and it's a point I call optimal difference. And this is where your work is sufficiently different to what people have done before, to what they expect to make them sit up and take notice, but it's not so out there that they can't make sense of it. There were some football fans in San Sebastián, unfortunately. The England football fans have a chant. It goes like this. England till I die, I'm England till I die, I know towns and cities across the UK, often by football grounds, there are big murals on the wall. I am a Leeds United fan. Nobody else is, that's okay. This is Marcelo Bielsa, a brilliant and mercurial manager. So there's this chant, and there are these paintings in football places around the UK. The British Heart Foundation wanted to create a campaign around the Euros to raise awareness that young people too are affected by heart disease. So they did this. They painted big murals in towns and cities, but not football players or managers, but regular people, young people. And the line wasn't England till I die, it was England till I died. A really powerful, effective, surprising way of taking something that we're familiar with and just giving it a little twist to make us sit up, take notice, and understand the communication. 4 minutes and 16 seconds. I think we're going to be okay. The secret to having great ideas. This is big stuff. Are you ready for this? Okay, the secret to having great ideas. I'm going to tell you a story about a potter. So there was a pottery teacher, and she had a class of students. It probably wasn't 230, but let's pretend it was. And she divided the class down the middle. And she said, okay, today, before lunchtime, I want you guys to make the very best pot you can. Just one pot, but it's got to be perfect. And she said to you guys, I want you to make as many pots as you possibly can. I don't mind whether they're good or bad, but just make as many pots as you can. Lunchtime arrives, and I'm sorry to tell you, but you guys are really strung out and stressed. You've got these like really overworked pots. You've been pulling your hair out. It's all like, oh fuck, is this right? And you guys are just, tired but serene. You've got into a groove, and your pots are so much better than their pots. Give yourselves a round of applause. Sorry. Now, this illustrates a very important truth about the creative process, and it's something that we often overlook. Quantity is the path to quality. Too often, we worry about the quality of our ideas. And if you're in an evaluative mindset, you're switching neural circuits from your creative frame of mind to an evaluative one. Focus only on quantity. The way I see the creative process is a bit like this. You've got now, the present moment, you have your deadline at the end. It's a period of opening up, followed by a period of distillation. But this bit is all about volume. You do a deal with yourself. You say, I'm not going to evaluate my ideas till at least halfway through. And you just come up with as much stuff as you possibly can. Thomas Edison said, remember this, when you've exhausted all possibilities, you haven't. And then about 2/3 or halfway through the process, then you evaluate your ideas for your quality. The first ideas are often the most conventional. They feel good because they're conventional, they're safe. You've got to get through the long grass of those ideas to the really good stuff. Great creatives and innovators don't have a better ratio of good ideas to bad ideas than the rest of us. They just have more ideas. And the thing is, we only see the stuff they want to release. We don't see their waste paper baskets. We don't see the stuff they've discarded. Perhaps one of the most creative people on the planet, sorry Drake, is Kendrick Lamar. He says, I own up to a lot of hours of just listening and studying and throwing thousands of pieces of paper away that were garbage. Quantity is the path to quality. So, by way of a recap, a little bit of self-doubt is good. It shows you're in that place where something exciting might happen. If it gets too much, I've shared a couple of strategies that might help. But let's do a little thing. Could you raise your hand if you experience self-doubt? So just have a look around the room now. I mean, we're all fucking there, We can only hear our own inner critics, but everybody has them, So unite my friends. We're all in it together. AI is rubbish at fixing drinks. Don't be scared of AI. Use it as a tool. We can always be a bit more creative than AI can be. Leave a little bit of space for your audience. Be confident. Leave a gap. If you leave space for them, the communication becomes much more rewarding and much more powerful. Experiment with optimal difference. If you look at great advertising, it often takes something we're familiar with, gives it a little bit of a twist, and put quantity before quality, and the good ideas will come. There is a book, Creative Demons and How to Slay Them. I was delighted to see it in a local bookshop just down the street, Los Demonios Creativos. I do workshops for teams. If you want me to come along to your place, there's more about me at richardholman.com. I also do some one-to-one coaching. Please give me a follow on Instagram, YouTube and TikTok, and I would be really happy to connect with you all on LinkedIn. Before I finish, I just want to say I think creativity is a really, really beautiful thing. I think we need more of it in our world, and so it's wonderful to be here. And isn't it nice to be with real human beings in a real room? Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.
All I know and all I am is you.